today we're going to be talking about Married at First Sight. It was last night's episode was episode 5. This is going to be brought to you from an urban Native American perspective, a mixed perspective, and a secular perspective. So let's start talking about it. It was an interesting episode. Did you guys watch it? Oh, and by the way, if you guys do wind up liking the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and share it with your friends. So let's dive right on in. So first we start off with Chris and Nicole. So everyone is waking up and everyone's starting their scenes with breakfast. And Chris and Nicole seem to have had a good time. There still seems to be a lot of chemistry, a lot of energy between the two, and they're getting along. And then we have, what's her name? Dominique and Matt. So they're eating breakfast and they're talking about how their evening was. And she says that, he snores and stuff like that. But, her body pillows, I guess, weren't too much in the way. And, I don't think there was any hanky panky that night. I mean, but, who knows that's their business. But, that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. There was no hanky panky. Um, and then, so Dom and Mac, they go sailing. Dominique and McKinley, they go sailing, and I don't know, like she's joking about her boobs, and it just seems a little like it seems kind of immature to me. Like he likes my boobs, like come on, it's enough with that. We know what he's into. We know what you have to offer, and he's talking about that too. But it just kind of seemed a little silly, and like to do that on camera, like over and over again, it makes them both seem a little bit immature. So then they start talking a little bit more, and she's like, talking about how she's a good swimmer, and you can tell like it's like going off in her head, like, wait a minute, he's not really an outdoors guy, and she's a tomboy. She likes to be out on the water, she likes to go fishing and stuff like that. So I think she's trying to decide if she's still I think she was semi interested in the process, because let's be honest, her mom signed her up for this thing. But I'm wondering if, she's still deciding if she's attracted to him, because I'm not quite seeing as much of a spark as I thought I was going to see with them. I feel like he has it towards her, but I'm not sure if she has it towards him. You know what I mean? And but she's kind of like she kind of seems like, okay, I'm not sure. I'm thinking about it. I'm deciding if I'm attracted. But hey, I'm here for the party, and so my girls. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I don't really know about this. So now we go to Shaquille and Kirsten, and they are finally out of Jackson, Mississippi, finally away from his convention, and they are in Jamaica. They are one day late after all the couples. Now, I wish the couples would have got a chance to meet each other. Like, well, they did initially, but Shaquille and Kirsten were not there yet, right? They're in Mississippi, so I still need to see how everybody's all reacting with one another and stuff. I'm waiting more for that. So, yeah, so Shaquille, they get on the ATVs, right? And she is like, she's got her helmet on, and she's like, look, honey, I'm taking no prisoners. I'll see you back at the airport if necessary. She's going on about her way. She's like, she's a little bit more adventurous and stuff. And she's a country girl. I mean, and they, in the country, they do ride the ATVs. Oh, good afternoon, Susan. How are you? Thank you for joining in. Everybody else who's joining in, thank you so much for spending your lovely afternoon with me so we can sip our tea, honey. Did you see the episode last night? So, I just right now, this first half of this of my review, I want to kind of just focus on Nicole and Chris. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot going on. Oh, you did good. You watched it, so you're caught up, right? Um, I mean, I want to know exactly like what the hell was going on with the casting. Now, we knew from the very beginning that, like from the first episode, I was like, why did they put some of these people together? But we shall talk about that later. So Nicole and Chris, unfortunately, no conflict is boring, which is terrible, but I'm just glad that they're getting along, and it seems like everything is going okay. But a little bit later on with Chris and Nicole, they're having their shots, and I mean, listen, they were drinking like, like put some hair on your chest kind of drinking. They had 6 shots. If that had it, oh, good. Mm-mm. No, if that was me, I would definitely have gotten sick. And I wouldn't want to be sick on a honeymoon. But, I guess they know what they can handle or whatever. And they were two sheets to the wind, honey. Every time they were looking at the camera, they were like this and stuff. And it was very funny. But later on, they were talking about like or actually before I get to that part. So while he's still drunk, he decides to bust a move on the beach, and I was like, oh, poor thing. He just, he can't dance. Even my husband was like, oh God, stop dancing. So anyway, but one thing I noticed about Chris and Nicole was that like when they were having this beautiful sunset beach dinner and stuff like that, she's like, "Do you love me yet?" And he's like, and she's like, just kidding, like awkward. This is a very awkward moment between those two. And he's her dream husband, and like that's all she can really think about and stuff. And they're on cloud nine, and I mean they're entitled. And listen, we may as well see some kind of functional love connection, even if it's somewhat clingy or whatever. But what really stood out to me is when Chris was like, they're talking about their past and stuff like that, and she's saying how, she was very, kind of just into her own life and stuff like that, and kind of selfish. And he's like, well, I'm not going to be putting up with that. Like he was really putting his foot down. I was like, damn, what did that ex do to him? Because like she's presenting to you everything and where she is now, and her actions are matching her words and stuff like that. But for him to kind of come at her a little bit like that, I was like, he is really like, he is serious. He's like, you're gonna be with me. I was like, oh, Chris, hang on a second, honey. So, but then they got to the topic of children, and she said that she's open. Okay, so this is another situation where we have someone who's like, okay, maybe with the kids, but I don't know, I'm not really seeing it. And he definitely wants kids. I mean, he wants a few kids, right? So, I mean, I hope that they can come together on that. But, she's saying that she's not willing to just have a kid basically, just for whatever sake for the other partner. She has to be in a place where she wants to have children as well. And I think that's a smart thing, but I'm just not sure. What do you guys think? Like when they're doing casting for this and they say, a person, we want to make sure we match people who want kids with other people who want kids because we've seen that go, awry before. But do you think if someone is just simply open to having kids, is that enough? I'm wondering, like in a real life situation, that can be challenging enough. But on a TV show where you have all these different, obstacles and things to begin with, I think maybe I don't know, I'm just brainstorming here out loud. Maybe that is a criteria that has to be a firm yes for both people or a firm no for both people. Because if anybody is kind of like, I'm not really sure about it, just for the sake of this particular experiment, it just seems to be that the person that's saying I'm open usually does not want to have kids, right? Do you agree with me, Susan? I mean, I don't know, just there's too many obstacles as it is, right? Um, but yeah, that was an interesting moment that they had on the beach. But I mean, other than that, they seem to enjoy themselves. But now I'm starting to watch Chris because Chris seemed to be really like, hmm. And even though she said that she was very, what did you say? Not just, yeah, yeah, not just say, yes to be on television. I mean, that can just wind up going really, really bad, because you can't. How do you change a person's mind if they don't? It's like they're solid on the fact that they don't want to have children, especially if they're at a certain age. They're like maybe late 20s, but especially if they're in their 30s, they've already had their life, they've already had their routine and everything. I had my child. Oh my God, I was like very close to 40 when I had my child, very close to it, and it was so difficult, to adjust because I mean, at my age, I was already like used to my lifestyle and having eating at restaurants and drinking wine or whatever. You know what I mean? You have your lifestyle's very built in, and then all of a sudden, you have to, you can't use your swear words as much and things like that. It's a huge adjustment, especially for people that are on the fence and a little bit on the older side. And I'm not saying being 30 is old, but you know what I mean, for the purpose of this particular show, which they tend to get people like in their late 20s, early 30s. So that's okay. So that's that. Now Shaquille, so they sit down and they have a conversation, and she's saying that she's starting to become attracted to him. And I'm thinking like, okay, all right, she's saying these words, but I am just not convinced. The chemistry is not coming through across the screen. Now, one thing I'm getting from Shaquille is that he seems to be someone who needs a lot of validation and a lot of building up. You know what I mean? And I think that's maybe, going into the psychology, maybe a little bit of why he said he wanted like this sort of power couple. And whenever they say what they want to be in a power couple, that's always a red flag, right? We've seen the power couples, crash and burn on this show. And he always wants someone that he can attend events with and look nice with out in public and stuff like that. And he needs that strong pat on the back. You did a good job. And, listen, some people need a little bit more validation than others, but it's not going to be Kirsten because she's not even attracted to the guy. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, she was smiling and, looking nice in front of the camera, but no, she wasn't convincing me. And, when they had the conversation earlier about the delay to the honeymoon, she did express her disappointment, but she was a good trooper because, honey, had that been me, I would have been looking at that contract like, where does it say in here that I need to go to Jackson, Mississippi when everybody else is in paradise? I don't think so. We need a revision. We need an addendum or something like that. So, all right, so now let's go. I gotta go back to my notes, you guys, because there's just so much to talk about with these people. So let's go back to oh my God, we're gonna do, I don't know, should I do Clinton? Should I do Clinton and Gina first, or should I do Eris and Jasmine? All right, let's do Clinton, Gina. All right, so I'm going to add in a little bit of information that I got from the after show because she clarified some things on the after show, but apparently they got lost. And on the after show, she was saying that not only had they got lost, but their luggage had gotten lost as well, or was delayed or whatever. Because I was like, why in the hell is he wearing, oh yes. I was like, why in the hell is he wearing a Yeah Man shirt in Jamaica? Of all places, it was like, this is so odd. And, Clint, I was like, when I first saw Clint, I was like, okay, let's see what he's talking about. And it just seemed to be Clint was a little bit too into like just, I don't know, beautiful women and like, it just didn't seem like he was ready for this process. And that was before he even stated that he had, slept with someone only 2 weeks before that he got selected for the show. And so even before then, there was something about him. And I thought that it was more of a okay, so he's in he works in IT, right? So I was like, is it kind of like where he's a little bit more of a nerdy guy who likes to do outdoor stuff, but maybe is a little bit more naturally on the nerdy side, and maybe has always fantasized about having like the really beautiful, the hot girlfriend or something like that, but maybe wasn't able to get it, because it just seemed to me like there was something a little bit off with his intentions to me. So, and to look at him, okay, yes, he has red hair. Okay, so what? Big deal. And I know that it is sometimes said, some women are not as much into red hair, guys with red hair. Now, women with red hair is a different situation, but when it comes down to guys, some women are not into their features or whatever. And I just wondered when I first saw his red hair, I was like, oh, okay, well, I wonder how this is going to go. Because, listen, there was even in the UK, I heard recently that there was some kind of legislation that was passed because Kids with red hair were being bullied like so brutally that they were being attacked and thrown in dumpsters and just really just bullied like ridiculously. I mean, we hear about redheaded bullying over here, but I hear it's a whole nother scale over in the UK. I wonder about Scotland though, but because Scotland, that's like the home of the redheads, right? Do they? I mean, it's a really dumb thing, and it's cruel, quite frankly. So I wondered if he had dealt with some of that growing up, right? And I thought he was shorter, but actually he's not as short as I thought he was. But I'm wondering if maybe he just never really had a lot of luck in the lady department. And hey, if you're on this show, that's part and parcel of it. So they're having a good time and everything, but then when they sit down, okay, and they're having their discussion about, well, they're going through the island, right? First, before I get to that. And then they sit down and they have their discussion, or they go hiking, sorry. And then they go to the waterfall. What'd you say, Susan? What he said about her? Oh, yeah. Oh, we're going to get to that. I'm building up to that, Susan, because let me tell you something. Oof. See, I had seen some previews and stuff before, so I was like, how is this going to work out with this Clint guy, right? Because we saw previews of him being a complete butthole. Hi, Olivia. How are you? Thank you for joining me. Okay, so I got two of my ladies on here today. Good. Listen, I love when you guys join me because you know what? It can be a little bit challenging sometimes just talking to my tablet, right? Set up here, my little homemade studio. But since I got you ladies in here, let's have a little discussion. So they go hiking and they get to the waterfall. Now we get to see Gina in her full loveliness, right? Gina's she's a curvy girl, right? But she's like an American curvy. She's very typical in the United States, what we consider to be curvy. Some people wouldn't even consider her to really be even that curvy. But to me, she's a curvy girl. And I understand, different cultures also have different criteria or whatever, what they consider to be curvy versus, overweight, big, plus size, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, look at Gina. She looks nice in her outfit and her bikini. And I thought, oh, she's confident, right? And I mean, she's not like she's huge or anything like that. So I just was like, oh yeah, she looks good. And sometimes I know, like, and it also, we also have to take into consideration geographical culture, right? They're in the South. They make them a little bit bigger in the South. I mean, people eating cornbread and butter and fried chicken and stuff like that. That's just that. I grew up in the South. That people tend to be a little bit, on the bigger side. But to me, she wasn't even big. So, but then I noticed that they didn't, like, you notice how the cameramen they will zero in on people's body parts for certain stuff like that. Oh, okay, you got, okay. And I noticed they didn't do that too much. And I said, okay, maybe was it something that she agreed, like, don't zero in on my boobs or my butt or something like that. The way they did it, to me, the shot was just very tasteful. They're in the waterfall and she just looked great. So I say all that to say, they're talking and having a good time and everything like that. And but one thing is, when they were talking, I noticed she was over talking him a lot. And the thing is that I'm a girl's girl. I'm sorry. Listen, I don't think, the world should be even for men and women, but they are not. You saw that. You noticed that too, Susan, right? From a distance. It wasn't like the usual skin flick. Good. I thought I was the only person that noticed that. So I said to myself, I'm a girl's girl. I'm a feminist. I'm usually going more for the girls. The world is not balanced for men and women, not yet. Right now, I usually lean more towards the ladies, right? But, I noticed in the conversation though, she really overtalked him a lot. They were having discussion, and she wouldn't let him finish his sentences. And I thought, okay, that's not very polite. How are you supposed to get to know a person if you're always over talking them? And mind you, I am not a Clint fan, but I had to but what's fair is fair. So now when they have their little conversation later on, and they're sitting down and they start talking about, each other's types and stuff like that, their past relationships. And then she tells the camera that she's not quite attracted to him yet. And then she tells him that, she doesn't, how does she put it? she put it like, I'm not feeling the chemistry. That's what she's like. I'm not feeling the chemistry. And, and he was like, yeah, well, me either. And I was like, I don't know. Because Clint said initially that he wanted someone with he wanted a natural beauty because he wanted somebody to be, low maintenance. He could take out on a sailboat, whatever, the wind. She doesn't have to worry about her hair getting, messed up in the wind or something like that. So I always wondered with Clint, was he going to be disturbed by her lips? Because I mean, she has cosmetic enhancements. We all can see that. And, to me, I come from the school of thought where, listen, if you get a little work done, get a little work done. Don't get work done. You know what I mean? Like the whole point to me is to enhance and to make you look more well rested or whatever. But some people like to go very over the top. Now we can all talk about, should she have gotten, the lip injections to that, extreme or whatever, but, she did it. And I wasn't sure when he saw her at the altar if he was completely into her. It looked like he was looking to see if he was into her, not like he's like trying to, he's looking at her like that, like trying to decide if he was, or if he could find something about her that was attractive to him. So, when he said me too, I was like, okay, I think there's some things about her that he's not totally into, but I don't think it's to the level where he totally is turned off by her. Like I thought she was turned off by him, but I thought he could still maybe grow with something with her. And then she says to him, it's just the gingery features. And I said, well, goddamn. You know what, Gina, now listen. Gina, first of all, you already told his family that he's not the typical type that you date, but it has worked out in the past where you have dated people who weren't your typical type and you were able to eventually become attracted to them. But you can't be sitting here talking about gingery features. I mean, I just thought like, I mean, imagine if somebody said to me like, I don't like, you're nice, but I don't like your skin color. It's just a little too dark for me. I would be completely horrified. I mean, some people say, oh, you can't compare the two or whatever, but you know what? I'm sorry. Listen, you can, yeah, he can dye his hair, but he can't change the gingery features. So let's get into this gingery feature thing she's talking about. I think she's talking about complexion. Sometimes redheads tend to have a redder complexion, obviously freckles sometimes, but I think she's talking about as a hairstylist because she knows about color and she knows about color theory and things like that. And she's familiar with aesthetics and stuff, right? I think she's talking about how, a lot of redheads tend to have blonde eyelashes and blonde eyebrows, which from a distance can look like you don't have brows or eyelashes or something. And you listen, if that's your personal preference, because as a guy or as a heterosexual non-metrosexual guy, he's not going to put on mascara and color in his brows, right? But even for someone who has red hair, he doesn't have, I mean, it's not like so super bright red that he has like, because sometimes very bright red hair can come along with like a lighter eyelash color and a lighter eyebrow color, but his is not even like that. You can tell he has brows, you can tell he has eyelashes. I mean, I was just like, like even if you feel that way, that's just not, there's some things you just don't say out loud. You know what I mean? And that's not something that he can help. Now, if you say, I don't like you because you're just an asshole, then, that's something you can change, but you don't, even more so than weight. And I know this is probably not a popular opinion because you don't tell a person, I don't like your weight either, but weight is something that we can change, right? We cannot change our features. There's certain things we just come out of the womb with, and that's just going to stick with us. And maybe if you're born with very light hair, maybe it'll darken up as you get older or something like that. But I just felt like you don't have to do that. And I just was like, man, see. And then we saw the previews for the upcoming episode, and it seems like he's going to be firing back at her, talking about her size and stuff like that, which he shouldn't do either because it's not gentlemanly to go back. But it's like, she shouldn't have opened up that can of worms like that. I just, man, there's just other ways you can say, like, look, okay, for example, like Kirsten, oh, we know Kirsten's not into Shaquille, right? But she's like, well, there's certain things I can find attractive, or I'm trying to do this or trying to do that, and well, actually, you know what? Okay, scratch that. That's a bad example because Kirsten told him that she didn't like bald heads and he can't change that, right? So that's a bad example. But there are just ways to say that, you know what, hey, I'm still working on my attraction and it's taking a little time or something like that. Even Mitch didn't say, like I just don't, to what was her name? I forget her name. Was her name Kristen too or something like that? I don't like, how big your eyes are or something like that. That's so rude. I just, I didn't, it's not, I mean, I'm not crying a river for Clint, but I just, I don't think I don't think that was very nice of her to say. Um, Now, listen, if we find out something later on that he was saying something off camera, but from what we've seen, from their interaction, from what we've seen, that it was very uncalled for. So now, all right, now we're done with Clint and Gina. Okay, my God. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Can we go to Eris and Jasmine? So here we are, they wake up together. Of course, he always wants to know, like, what a good job he's done doing this. He wants to be rated. He wants to be, am I the best color? Am I the best this, the best that? He thinks he's a king. I don't know who told him that. Maybe the women in his family. Now, you all know how I feel about that cousin. I don't. I think she's very rude to Jasmine. Jasmine is a sweet, kind woman, okay? And she deserves more than that. I'm still not 100% sure that she's ready for this particular process because of the dogs. You know what I mean? If you're going to do breeding and stuff like that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's just a little tough to kind of find someone that has all your criteria and is okay with you having 14 dogs, even if only 9 of them are there temporarily, right? But still, other than that, she's in the process. So let's just go with that. The way he took her food, okay, and then insists that she feed it to him. And notice he was sitting there the whole time. He didn't even lean in for the food, right? And open up. No, he just sat there. And I was like, what a jerk. I mean, I have already known what Eris is from the beginning. But I was hoping that I would be proved wrong because I would rather be wrong and see these people wind up in marriages that are functional and good, and I can eat my words later on because, it's a TV show. We only get to see snippets of their life, but he is totally showing his ass on this national television platform here. So, he goes to her, he says to her after after he insists on being fed the lobster, she says to her, like, well, what do you want to know about me? And what does he say? He goes, I want to know what your favorite position is. And it's like, oh my God. Who brought in the fuckboy to the Married at First Sight casting? Like, who did this? How did this guy wind up on here? Okay. And then he proceeds to go, well, I want to add, I want to add sex mentor to my resume. I just, okay. Okay. And then he goes, wasn't that rude? That was absolutely disgusting. Then he goes, and she's like, well, I'm not really comfortable with that. And she's your typical little, pageanty little Southern belle, you know what I mean? She's like, oh, I just, she's clutching her pearls. She doesn't want to talk about that stuff, especially on camera, because, your parents going to be watching stuff like that, right? And then he goes, well, you need to open up. I need a, it's kind of like you're classy, but I need a little less class and a little more WHORE. Listen, I can't even say it because it's like I'm not a prude and I swear like a sailor, I do. But they're just like, I'm not into, men calling women the H word and WHORE. That I'm not for it. I can't stand it. This man, no wonder, because I was like, man, he looks so good for his, to be 39 years old, he looks so young. No wonder. Arrested Development, okay? This man is a clown. I don't know was this like a dare he did with his friends? We didn't think that we were going to see anybody as bad as Chris season 12. Chris, what he did to Paige, that went down into the annals, okay, of Married at First Sight. That put Married at First Sight on the map more than anything, right? Because the way he treated her and the way he just humiliated her. And unfortunately, the way she allowed herself to be humiliated with this guy time and time again. And then we get Olajuwon. Olajuwon was a loose cannon ready to pop any minute. They made it to decision day. They stayed together for a little while, but they recently finally broke up. And it was like, thank God Katina finally is gone. Now we have Eris. the new F-boy on the block. So I'm starting to see a pattern here. And you know what? There are a lot of good men of color out there. You all gotta do better. You gotta find somebody better than this. I mean, these women, and if this is the only option that they have in Memphis, girl, listen, Jasmine, you're gonna have to change. You have to start looking outside of your community sometimes, perhaps. I don't know, or something, because this is not, she doesn't deserve this. Is this what Memphis has to offer to single women who are educated and bright and sweet and talented? Did you see her body? Oh my God, you could bounce a quarter off of that. She looked so good when she had on that little fitness outfit and they're throwing the ball and stuff like that. And she's getting these red flags, and she's like, you know, it's dawning on her that, oh my God. And when they were outside, when she had on the little pink fitness outfit, that's when it dawned on her when she's talking about him never having been in love ever. And it's like, you're 39 years old. You had the longest relationship was a year and a half, and you never felt love. Okay, all right, all right. So if that's the case, then why are you on the show? That should be another criteria. You know if you want to have kids, or you know that you do not want to have kids, nothing in the middle. And you need to have had some sort of maturity under your belt. There is no excuse. I can understand if these people were 22 or 23, they just plucked them off of a farm somewhere in Pennsylvania and they said, I've never been in love, but now I want to try. You know, my parents got married young. This is just kind of normal in my community or something. No, this guy's been playing the field. He's been sleeping around and stuff like that up until you know he got chosen for the process. When you first fill out that application, that's supposed to say, hey, I'm serious, I'm intentional. You know, I can, God forbid you wait, you know, 3 or 4 months to be abstinent or something, to at least hear back to see if you're going to be on the show or not, because you don't want stuff like this coming back. And it's not that we found out. He volunteered that information. Him and Clint said that they both had slept with someone 2 weeks prior to being selected for the process. So when I saw that moment in her mind where she was like, I'm not comfortable with that. Like, don't you want to know more about me? Don't you want to hear things about me? Don't you want to, you know, what if we don't fall in love? I mean, is that what you need to know to say yes on decision day? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he's basically saying, you know, I've never been in love. I don't know if I'll ever get there. That's him. That's his way of saying, I am not attracted to you. All right. And you know, listen, she looks how she looks. There's only so many things she can change. She can put on makeup and stuff like that, but nobody should have to be in full, you know, a full face beat, right, all day out playing volleyball to appease someone. He's just disgusting. He's gross. I'm just so sick and tired. This is supposed to be like a serious show, and they keep letting us know year after year that they are not doing that they're more concerned with getting good ratings, or you know, there always has to be the explosive couple. Do you guys remember Olivia and Susan? I know you guys are in the chat. I don't know, did you guys ever watch the very first season of Love, or sorry, of Marriage, what is, good Lord, Married at First Sight? I review a few shows, so they get a little bit, you know, intertwined in my mind. But if you did, you remember it was on the FYE channel, if I'm not, or FYE or the FYI channel. It was before Lifetime picked it up. And these couples were serious. I mean, they went through the process. Some of them didn't make it, some did or whatever. But it was not, it really was an experiment. It was real. Oh, you saw all of them. So you remember the difference, right? So now it's more sensational. Let's just see who can get drunk and confess the most or whatever, whatever. Now, now this is just my own idea here, because the way Eris is, I just can see him out in the club, and you know, he probably has a very certain type and stuff like that. I'm still waiting to see him interact with Dominique, because Dominique, she likes attention too. So I'm wondering, when these two are all hanging out poolside, is there going to be any sparks or anything like that? It's just it's just my own little curiosity that I have. I'm just not sure about why they continue to put people like him on the show. I mean, it's such a disservice. I feel so bad for or not Kirsten, for Jasmine. I mean, Kirsten just got somebody she wasn't attracted to. Now, here's another thing. Now, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but I heard now, because on the after show, when Kristen, let's go back to Clint and Gina for a second. So, Clint and Gina. So Gina on the after show, when the host asked her, Keisha Knight Pulliam asked her, like, what was up with that ginger comment? And she was like, oh, it wasn't as bad as it sounded. I mean, we were just having a conversation, and that's just what it was. And she tried to downplay it, right? And then and then basically downplay it, but then she's like, yeah, I mean, that's just what I felt, and she kind of doubled down. Now, I heard that she did an article, and I haven't been able to find the article, but supposedly there's an article, and in the article she said that she specifically stated to the maths panelists, or not the panelists, but like the people that when you're doing the survey and stuff like that, that she specifically did not want a red-haired man. So that's why she's reacting the way that she is. But the whole thing is that Gina told us in the very beginning, before she met Clint, that she was going to be open, and no matter what he looks like, she's just going to go with it. So I was like, oh, we have another Lindsay on our hands. So remember Lindsay with Mark the Shirt? I mean, Lindsay was off the chain, right? She was a little batshit, but Lindsay, I do believe Lindsay, when she said that she would have been open to anyone that would have, they would have presented her with somebody who would take her shit, right? Because she was a lot. She was a handful. So I'm thinking Gina, was going to be open to whomever that they gave her. So, and another thing is too, oh yeah, you remember that? You remember that bathroom scene, Susan? Oh my gosh, she was going nuts on Mark. That was ridiculous. Like, they should have just kicked her off the show. That was really that was some kind of alcohol fuel tirade that she went on. But I feel as though with Gina, like, I mean, I just I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, why didn't she just say, "Hey, listen, I'm Italian. I like a nice, olive complected. I like a nice, 5 o'clock shadow. I like that black hair, or I like Latino, or I like black, whatever it is that fits more with your aesthetic. Just be honest about that, right? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, they're already mismatched to begin with. He's sailing the world, and she's trying to establish her little empire right there in Nashville. It just the pairing was completely off. But I still think that regardless, she shouldn't have said that to him. But yeah, I mean, so if she stated that she didn't want a redhead, then maybe she should have said, I want a redhead, and I don't want a redhead, and I only want someone that looks like, whatever, pick a celebrity or something like that, Julio Iglesias, whatever, whoever. But she just I don't know. I just could not get over that gingery feature. That was so messed up. So I don't know, guys. Aris, like, he's so busy plotting to get close to. Oh, so that was another thing. So he asked, did you guys remember when Aris asked his, or said to, Aris said to Jasmine, like, I'm gonna be so close with your sister. She's gonna love me more than anybody. And I was like, what kind of like, what is that to say? So every red flag, every bell, everything was going off in her head in that moment. And I'm just hoping that she's gonna be like, you know what, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out. What'd you say, Susan? I really think they are not matching these people's correct. Like, for shock value, exactly. I mean, why would you pair somebody? That's like me saying I don't like a person who wears, bell-bottom shoes and has buck teeth, and then they give me like a 1960s reenactor who needs braces, right? It just doesn't make any sense. And, and it's always, we're getting like a lot. I mean, even though Gina was wrong for what she said or whatever, but typically we see the women, having to suffer the brunt of men that are not ready, don't want kids, don't want to commit, have, very specific, like aesthetics that they're attracted to and stuff like that. And, with Kirsten, I'm just, so, all right, this season's villain is Eris, and the damsel in distress is Jasmine. So, I mean, I think that, but did you guys also notice that with Shaquille, the way he keeps looking at her, or not looking at her, but I guess the way he kind of looks down, he's kind of looking away and stuff like that. He feels insecure and he's bothered by the fact that she's not into him initially. And he didn't like the fact, he said on the after show, he was bothered by the fact that she admitted that she was initially not attracted to him in the beginning. And I think even though that's kind of walking the fine line right there, I still think that that's still an honest conversation. And depending on, you can kind of gauge if a person maybe would be how they would react to that. So if you would want to say that or not, but I just personally wouldn't say that. I would just say, in that situation, if I'm not attracted and we got set up like that, I'm working on the attraction. I'm hoping I can get there. And we've heard people in the past say that, I'm trying, let's see how it goes or something like that. Not just straight up, I don't like you. You're not my type. You ugly. I mean, like what else are you supposed to say? But Eris, yeah, he, just the fact that he's never been in love before. He's never been in love because he's not looking for love. And that cousin, as much as she annoyed me, I mean, I understand her reaction towards him. Now, she was wrong the way she reacted towards Jasmine, because Jasmine, she's just coming in an innocent person, not knowing about his past and trusting, really wholeheartedly trusting. And these people, some of these couples here are very religious people, and they're probably thinking, oh, okay, well, we have a pastor here and he's going to help get me, find someone who's that can kind of meet my religious needs and stuff like that. And they're really putting all of their faith in them. That's why I don't trust pastors, honey. Let me tell you something. I grew up Catholic and we didn't have that. Wasn't all them backflips in the church and stuff like that. But whatever. Oh, sorry, hold on. There's a siren. We got the fire department down the street here. Just a minute. Okay. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for waiting. Sorry about that. But I feel as though these women are they're getting the short end of the stick. Now, they're also, they say that if you stay on up until a certain point, there's a financial incentive, like if you say yes on decision day, so I've heard. And also that if you decide to leave the process prematurely, then there's a penalty that you'll have to pay. And I mean, maybe that's what's going on with Kirsten, because she's so clearly not into him. Do you guys I mean, is it just me? I don't know. I'm just not seeing the chemistry right now. When I did my initial what I like to call my knee-jerk predictions, and I thought Chris and Nicole would stay together. I wasn't sure about Clinton and Gina, but I thought that their chemistry may have been off, at least on one side, because I was like, I don't think she's going to be into him, but we'll see, Or I have to go back. Did I say that they'll say no on decision day? I think I did. I think I wasn't feeling it for those two, but Kirsten and Shaquille, I definitely do not think those two are going to stay together. And Eris and Jasmine, this is just sad. She needs a do-over. Ever since they played Paige like that, by giving her that absolute monster Chris, there should be some kind of something worked in the contract where if you hook me up with somebody that's going to scorn me on national TV, I need a do-over, because they did that on that one show. What's the name of it? Love Without Borders. Have you guys seen that show? That dating show on Bravo. Oh my God, that's an absolute mess too. And one couple, they didn't work out. The woman was so cold and closed off. So the matchmaker decides, you know what? All right, we're gonna send her home, and literally fly someone in the next day, and says, hey, here's somebody else. See if you guys have some sort of chemistry, and they seem to be working out okay. So we'll see what happens next week. It looks like it's going to be absolutely explosive. I can't wait. I'm also going to be doing, what is that show called on Netflix? They said that's coming. Love is Blind. That's coming back at the end of the month. So I'm going to be doing that one as well, because I'm always here for all these like relationship shows. They're just so funny to me. I cannot even, because like, first of all, it's like, who signs up for this? You have to be in a very vulnerable place, to want to do it. But the thing is like, after like a certain amount of seasons, people at home watching this that are deciding to actively go and apply for these shows have to see the disasters, the dumpster fires that happen season after season, couple after couple. And they only had, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's only been 11 couples from Married at First Sight that have still remained together to this day. And that it may be 10 now because of Olajuwon and Katina breaking up. But honey, this is too much. I can't even I just don't understand like what makes you think that because all these other couples, watching all these couples crash and burn that you're going to be the one that's going to have the success. I would take my chances and just pay a private matchmaker and be like, listen, this is exactly what I want. This is what I don't want, whatever. And then you don't have to feel shy about saying, lying that you want kids when you know you don't want them, or lying about, being willing to move to another state when you know that you have like something, you're grounded in your little city or whatever. You lose your pension, you work for the fire department or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's better to just go through those channels, I think, than to do it on television. But you know what? As long as I keep signing up, I will continue to watch it. Would you say, Susan? First time I ever thought none would stay together. Oh, you think it's zero. So you don't even think Chris and Nicole will stay together? Not even those two? Because I feel like Chris and Nicole might make it. I mean, it really seemed like they're on the same page. But then that kid thing kind of threw me off last night, though, because I didn't realize that about her. I just kind of figured, oh, she would want kids and stuff like that. And, just like her cultural background and stuff like that. She grew up Jewish and Italian. She's very family oriented. I just figured, maybe she would want kids, but but it just goes to show we can't just say necessarily because a person comes from a particular cultural background that they will necessarily want to have children, right? So it doesn't really, they're not, it's not necessarily a guaranteed thing. So I don't know, guys. Oh my God. I mean, after Olajuwon and Katina, I mean, I was so upset with that season. I just could not believe they would bring someone like that on television. And now they bring this guy, they bring Eris. So we got our villain, guys. It's official. I mean, I'm done. We're gonna see, Clint curse Gina out next week, and we'll see what happens with that. But I really enjoyed talking with you, ladies and fellas. Anybody out there who is tuning in, if you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. Like I said, I will be reviewing Love is Blind at the end of the month on this is Thursday. On Saturday, I'll be reviewing Love After Lockup, and on Monday, I'll be reviewing 90 Day Fiance the other way, where the Americans go to the country of their betrothed. So that's another show right there. Okay, so hopefully you guys will join me. I hope you're staying safe. You're taking care of yourselves. I'll see you next week. Che pizza lacho, and bye.